This lesson is how to solve multi-step word problems and assess reasonableness of solutions using benchmark numbers. Throughout this entire lesson and the next lesson, I'm going to suggest drawing pictures before you try to solve the problem so that it can help you visualize what you're trying to do. Let's look at the first problem. Jack used 1 3/4 of a kilogram of salt to melt the ice on the sidewalk. He then used 3 4/5 of a kilogram on the driveway. If he bought 10 kilograms of salt, how much salt does he have left? Now what you might want to do here, before you even draw the diagram, is underline the important information in the word problem. Okay? So we need to know that what he used for the driveway, we need to know what he used for the sidewalk, and we need to know what he had total. Then I can draw my picture. And here's how I drew my picture. I imagined that I had a large container. And this can be the container of salt if you want. And this section of the salt was going to the sidewalk. This section is going to the driveway. Here's what I am looking for, and the entire thing altogether is 10 kilograms. Now from here I can see I need to add these two sections together, and then I can look for the difference in this part here. Okay, so I've written this out into a problem. 1 3/4 plus 3 4/5 plus something is the same as 10 kilograms. Okay, and then I'm going to solve it like I did previously. Okay, I added these pieces together to see, or I gave it a common denominator, added them together to get 4 31/20. I simplified it down to 5 11/20. Okay, and this second step here didn't change at all. So then I moved it around so that I could see 10 minus 5 11/20 is the same as 4 9/20 of a kilogram. Let's look at another problem. A boxer needs to lose 3.5 kilograms in a month to be able to compete. In 3 weeks, he lowers his weight from 5.5 kilograms to 55.5 kilograms to 53 8/10 of a kilogram. How many kilograms must the boxer lose in the final week in order to be able to compete? Now, we do have decimals in here. Remember that you already know how to write 5/10 or 8/10 as a fraction. Okay? If you see a decimal and you're not sure how to convert it, say it out loud or say it how you would pronounce it in your head, and that will usually give you the fraction that you need to write. Try solving this and then I'll show you how I did it. The first thing I'm doing is I'm taking 55.5 and subtracting 3.5 because I'm looking at what I'm starting with and how much he needs to lose to see where his end weight needs to be. From there, I can take his current weight after 3 weeks and subtract the end weight to see how much is left. When I do that, I take his current weight, subtract the end, and I see that he has 1 4/5 of a kilogram remaining, or 1 8/10 if you did not simplify. Try one more problem. Mark breaks up a 9-hour drive into 3 segments. He drives 2.5 hours before stopping for lunch. After driving some more, he stops for gas. If the second segment of his drive was 1 2/3 of an hour longer than the first segment, how long did he drive after stopping for gas? Solve this on your own and don't forget your picture. Okay. When I drew my picture, I drew their entire trip as a tape diagram. Okay. Remember, this is split into 3 segments. And what I did here is I said my first segment is 2.5 hours before stopping for lunch, and that's where this line is here. Then he drove more, but he drove 1 hour and 1 hour and 2/3 longer than the first segment. So that means he still has that first segment of time plus 1 hour and 2/3, before he stopped for gas, and then we have the remaining time. So what I would do from here is I would add my common denominators and then add the next step and subtract it from 9. This is what it would look like when you write it out in the equation. Okay, 2.5 plus 2.5 plus 1 2/3 plus something equals 9, and then solve. Okay, when I solved this, I added 2.5 and 2.5 first because I knew that would give me a whole number of 5. Then I can add 1 2/3 to give me 6 2/3, which I can then subtract from 9. And 9 minus 6 2/3 is 2 1/3. Or I can say 6 2/3 plus something. What is that something? Well, it's 2 1/3 is the same as 9.